This is TWiT.
You want to tell the story, Stacey, while I pull up the link?
Well, I may not tell it exactly right.
The history.
The Department of Labor is suing to get data from Google on how it pays female employees because it's concerned that it is paying them less and is discriminating against them.
Right.
I don't remember the law it's using.
But Google says, we can't give you that information. Here's the story from the Register, which, of course, in its typical snarky way says,
snarky.
Google can't spare 113 seconds of revenue to compile data on its gender pay gap. Google said that it would cost them $100,000 to figure out whether they underpaid women. To compile accurate wage data to compare women's income to men's income would be 500 hours of staff time. So, okay. I don't know. You know what? I have a feeling that the Labor Department's not going to accept that excuse.
Right.
But we'll see.
But you know, no one in tech is an excuse either, and Googlers ex-Googlers is definitely mocking them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. They spend $150 million. They have a $150 million diversity program.
Yeah, I was like, how much have they donated to Girls Who Code or Black Girls Code? Or
right.
Well, they shouldn't spend that on it, but how much have they spent on the salary of the HR manager who's completely failed to improve their hiring practices?
Right. Well, do we know if Google pays women less than men? That would be a shameful thing.
Yes.
Well, I think that's what they do is the thought process, and this is the data they're trying to get.
Right.
So broadly, they do, yes, measurably, and it's similar to to other companies in that they hire women at lower wages, at lower slots. They promote them less well, and the attrition rate is higher, so fewer of them end up as managers. Google does have some senior women and has had a lot of senior women, but their promotion system has been bad. Kelly Ellis has written about this a few times and said, concretely, the system that they use doesn't necessarily, because it uses performance ratings and existing salaries, it means that any bias that starts is baked in and is continued. So she came out of college and was hired into front end development because she was a woman, even though she had experience in back end. Because they decided that would be the right place to put her. And she didn't know. And then to actually get through the promotion process, you have to show that you overperformed and so on. So the actual process is very difficult. I mean, there's a long series of posts that she wrote about this.
The Department of Labor said the investigation is not completed, but at this point, the department has received compelling evidence of very significant discrimination against women in the most common positions at Google headquarters. So they're looking for, more evidence from Google. Google says, well, we can't afford to compile that information for you, which sounds to me like...
From a company that has data.
Yeah, it sounds to me like...
it's like,
we don't want to
really, Google.
Yeah. It's a federal contractor. So one of the issues is, as a federal contractor, they're required to give the Department of Labor access to records and information about compliance. So that's one of the issues. So Google has to as a governmental contractor.
It's like you can index the entire web, but you can't actually look at your own employee database.
Kind of hard to believe, yeah.
Yeah,
kind of hard to believe.
That is the challenge, and hopefully the government doesn't let them off the hook. And I know Google is not the only one, but
funny, you would think Google of all companies would
that's why this is so interesting.
People equally and be merit focused and not gender focused and look at a coder. I understand really probably some of this anyway is what you were saying, Kevin, which is it's just kind of a quirk of historicity, or maybe even you could blame the previous employer because
it's just bias.
Still,
no, it's bias.
It's great that they're going after. Oh, yes, I was going to exactly. Google. No one at Google is like, we are not going to pay women equally.
Right.
Most people at Google are probably like, but
what? Yeah.
They have to be forced into realizing this and doing something about it. And then, because if you can say
stonewalling is not the solution, Google.
No, it never is. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, it is more complicated than equal pay, equal work. It's also more opportunities for women and minorities for better, higher jobs. Yes. So how you analyze this it needs to be on both fronts.
Promotion, yeah.
Churn, things like that. I mean, there are tons of things that, as a woman who has worked in startup environments in tech, there are tons of things that can push you out if you don't have the support network at home. If you're not working with people who are actively supporting you and trying to push things ahead. I mean, there are a million days that you can wake up as a woman in tech and say, you know what, I just don't want to deal with this bull anymore. And
I just want to say that my wife makes more money than I do. So, I mean, but the thing is, you'd expect Google, of all the companies, to be like bending over backwards.
Yeah.
I took this picture at Google I/O when you sign up for your badge. They say, we care about your pronouns. Add a sticker to your badge to tell them whether you are they, them, or she, her, or he, they. I mean, it's they act as if they are really open-minded and really care and really progressive.
Well, but they're trying. They have an internal culture that is trying to build this stuff, of course. The women in Google groups and the Gaglers and all those kind of organizations exist. But at the same time, they think that they are naturally immune to this because they're so rational and don't introspect it and don't actually measure it very well. And that's why I was linking to Kelly's thing, because Kelly was saying exactly this. Subconsciously, they will decide that the guy who looks like me is a better coder than the guy who looks than Kelly, who's
here's Google's CFO, who is a woman, Ruth Porat, answering Kara's Swisher at the Code Conference.
The question I'm going to ask is about the Google salary. Right? Why will not you pay $100,000, whatever? Why will you won't give this information to the federal government?
So I think what you're asking about is the Department of Labor has been, through their federal contracting office, is doing an audit about gender pay equity. We are very committed to gender pay equity. We've done a ton of data analysis and looked at job families and levels, and based on that have said, including
equity, because that's really
including equity, absolutely full comp, and based on all of the analysis are very comfortable, confident saying we don't have a gender pay equity.
Well, I'm so glad for you to say that, but why not release it?
And so we have given the Department of Labor hundreds of thousands of records, millions of pieces of data, and the lawyers at this point are saying, this next round of requests is actually looking for personal contact information from thousands of our employees, and our view is that it's too much. And so, having given them hundreds of thousands of records and millions of data points, our view is that they have what they need, and we're leaving it with the lawyers.
Well, if you have all this data proving this, why don't you put up a big splashy website explaining how great you are?
I think we have. I mean, the way we've done
the actual number. I mean, you guys like data, right? I'm pretty certain you like data.
I mean, the data we've looked at, again, looks across its job family level, performance rate, the whole host of things, and it's on that basis that.
Have you ever thought of releasing that data to people to show this? Because one of the arguments was we didn't want to pay for it. Is that incorrect?
They did do a report, by the way, gender.
They do
equity.
a diversity report and a gender equity report. Yes,
they released that information of some kind. Good for Kara for digging in on that, but I think maybe Ruth Porat's response is well taken.
No. Sorry, go ahead.
Go on, Kevin. No, go on.
She's giving the company line, the party line, but she's not. But the challenge, someone at Google started compiling a spreadsheet of internal salaries and breaking it down by gender and race, and Google shut that down so fast you would not believe. And the woman who started it is no longer working at Google because they're really, really sensitive about it because it doesn't actually line up well. You remember that. Yep. And it happens over and over again. And the challenge is it's not the, you can always find one or two, supposed counterexamples like the CFO is a woman and and so on. But if you actually look at the experience day to day of all the employees, it doesn't work out that way. And it's very hard to show that without actually having the conversation with the people who've suffered under it, particularly in a company that is all about, as you say, its internal image is that they don't do this kind of thing. So when this kind of thing does happen, people get away with it because they think that couldn't possibly happen.
Right.
And the stuff that Susan Foster talked about at Uber is way more egregious than people have said at Google. But the same kinds of things and the same trends are there, and it happens at a lot of these companies, and it is a structural problem.